It was supposed to be a quiet Sunday morning. Marcus Reed had just sat on his porch with a mug of coffee when three men in cheap uniforms marched toward his house. Their shirts said HOA security, but something about them was off. The way they carried themselves, the black SUV idling down the street, the heavy bulge under one man's jacket. "Sir," one barked, "we've had complaints. You're under arrest for violating HOA rules." Marcus set his cup down slowly, eyes narrowing. They thought he was just another man in the neighborhood, just another target. But these men had no idea who they were dealing with. Because Marcus Reed wasn't just a homeowner, he was one of the FBI's most feared undercover agents. And today, their little game was about to blow up in their faces. Marcus had moved into the quiet suburban community 6 months earlier. To the neighbors, he was polite, reserved, the kind of man who mowed his lawn every Saturday and waved when people passed. No one knew the truth. Marcus was deep undercover, living in the neighborhood because of a major investigation into organized crime that stretched across 3 states. The HOA had always been strict. Petty fines for trash cans left out, warnings about grass height, letters about driveway cracks. But Marcus never had issues. He followed the rules. He blended in. That's why the sudden appearance of HOA police was strange. Real HOAs didn't have the power to arrest anyone. Real HOA disputes were handled with fines, not handcuffs. "Step away from your property," one of the men demanded, flashing a fake badge. Marcus tilted his head. His instincts kicked in. The voices were too sharp, the stance too tactical, the SUV too tinted. This wasn't about HOA violations. This was about him. And if they thought they were going to drag him quietly into that black SUV, they had another thing coming. Marcus stood, calm but calculating. "What exactly am I being arrested for?" he asked, voice steady. The leader sneered. "Failure to comply with community regulations. Step away from the porch." The other two moved in, hands twitching near their belts. Fake cops, Marcus thought. Hired muscle. Probably working for one of the cartels he'd been investigating. His cover had been blown. He sighed, as if disappointed. "You boys really thought this through?" They exchanged confused looks. In a blur, Marcus's demeanor shifted. He moved with controlled precision, the kind that came from years of FBI training. Before the first man could blink, Marcus had twisted his wrist, disarmed him, and slammed him against the porch railing. The gun clattered to the floor. A Glock, definitely not HOA issued. The second lunged, but Marcus pivoted, striking his ribs with calculated force. The man crumpled, gasping. The third tried to reach for his weapon, but Marcus's glare froze him mid-motion. "Sit!" Marcus ordered, voice like steel. The man obeyed, trembling. From the corner of his eye, Marcus noticed blinds shifting. Neighbors peeking out, phones ready to dial 911. He had to control this before it spiraled. He pulled a badge from inside his jacket. Not fake, not plastic, but solid, silver, official, Federal Bureau of Investigation. "Gentlemen," he said coldly, holding it up for all 3 to see. "You just tried to abduct a federal agent on his own property. That's a life sentence, if you're lucky." The leader's face drained of color. "We didn't know. That's the problem," Marcus cut in. "You should've." But he wasn't finished. He yanked the trembling man's radio, pressing the button. "This is Special Agent Reed. The operation just went live. Bring the team." Within minutes, the quiet neighborhood transformed. Black SUVs roared in, but these weren't fakes. They were FBI tactical units, armed and ready. Agents swarmed, neighbors gasped, and the three imposters were dragged off in cuffs. One neighbor whispered, "I thought he was just a regular guy." Marcus didn't look back. His cover was shattered, but his mission wasn't. In the interrogation room, the truth came out fast. The fake HOA police weren't freelancers. They were working for a cartel boss who had grown suspicious of a quiet, new neighbor. Their orders? Grab Marcus, drag him off, and make sure he never resurfaces. Marcus leaned across the table, his eyes locked on the trembling leader. "You walked into my house. You threatened me. You thought you could play police." He slid a photo across the table. "The cartel boss. Tell me everything you know." Now, the man cracked. Details poured out. Safe houses, names, bank accounts. Everything Marcus needed to take down an empire. Hours later, Marcus stood outside headquarters, watching as the criminals were loaded into transport vans. He should have felt relief. Instead, he felt a cold satisfaction. They'd underestimated him, and in his world, that mistake was fatal. Back home, Marcus returned to his porch. The coffee was cold, the mug untouched since morning. Neighbors walked by, still buzzing from the chaos, whispering about the man they thought they knew. Mrs. Carter from next door finally approached. "Marcus, or should I say, Agent Reed. We had no idea." Marcus gave a small smile. "That's the point, ma'am. The mission wasn't over. The cartel still operated, and there were bigger targets ahead. But the message had been sent loud and clear. No disguise, no fake badge, no hired gun could outsmart him." As the sun set, Marcus leaned back in his chair, badge gleaming faintly under the porch light. His life would never be quiet again. But, then again, it never really had been, because Marcus Reed wasn't just a homeowner. He was the FBI's most feared agent, and anyone foolish enough to test him wouldn't live to make the same mistake twice.